Another thrift shop find up for review. Gosh, my eyes look crazy right now. Picked up this movie a few days ago, and I am very familiar with the director, Sam Peckinpah. Peckinpah? I don't know. It's one of Quentin Tarantino's favorites, and a big director in the Western genre. So this particular movie, Ride the High Country, came out in 1962, and it's starring Randolph Scott in his last feature film, and Joel McCrea. And there's a great supporting cast. I'm not going to get into everybody. He was really good at casting, albeit the female lead's haircut was more 60s than it was early 1900s, late 1800s. The film was partially filmed in the Inyo National Forest, Bishop area in the Sierras of California. It has got a 94-minute runtime and was filmed in CinemaScope. I love the soundtracks of films of this era. It has a very stirring soundtrack, and I love the color and feel of the CinemaScope of this time period in the late 50s, early 60s. I feel like the soundtracks and the filming and the color is just awesome. He's obviously known for The Wild Bunch. Last year, I watched his film The Getaway with Steve McQueen, which was a very dark and disturbing movie. And this movie started off more lighthearted and got dark and disturbing as it went on. In 1992, it was selected for preservation by the National Film Registry for the Library of Congress. So it was considered a historically, culturally significant film. And the director of this film was a troubled guy, kind of like a lot of artists are. He struggled with alcohol and drug abuse, and it really held him back from making a lot more famous films, although The Wild Bunch, I think of that one first and foremost, which I own, but I have never seen, and we will have to review that one. Randolph Scott, he retired at age 64, with this being his last film, like I mentioned. He was a very shrewd investor and had amassed a fortune of over $100 million at that point, and was a born-again Christian and good friends with Billy Graham, per my research. And there was a coin toss by the director as who should get top billing, whether it would be McCrea or Randolph Scott. And they originally were cast to play each other's roles, but then they switched the roles, playing the characters that they were in the film. Very interesting. This movie cost $813,000 to make, and was originally recorded to have lost over $160,000 by the studio, and it was a double bill with this. It was released as a double bill with this movie Tar. Never heard of it, but it went on to make over $2 million internationally. And it won first place for the Cannes Film Festival in '62 and some Belgian Film Award in 1964. And it is considered one of the most well-regarded westerns of its era. And it has got some dark subject matter. It's basically the Joel McCrea character is kind of at the end of his career and trying to do right by himself and just take honest work, transporting and ensuring the safety of gold harvested at mines in the Sierras for the banks. And then he takes on Randolph Scott as his partner, and then there's a younger guy that's also there with them, whose name eludes me, and I didn't do enough research, so I apologize. Like I said, it started off a little bit slow for me, but then it got going, and I ended up really loving it in the end. And a lot of people feel the same way. This movie has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 89%, IMDb 7.4 out of 10, Google users are 82%, and I am 4 out of 5. Like I said, it's kind of dealing with good and evil, which is what his Wikipedia, the director's Wikipedia profile kind of talked about, and yes, I kind of see that as well. It's kind of a guy looking for a quick buck or doing the right thing and making an honest wage. And there's a lot of morality plays. The female character is in this rough country, and there's a lot of almost rape scenes, which is very disturbing. And even in the modern time, even though it was filmed in the 60s, I was still troubled by it. It stirred up a lot of emotions and sentiment. So if you've ever been the victim of sexual abuse, you may not want to watch this film. So yeah, there was a lot of intense scenes in this movie. So at the end of it, you see the redemption of all the characters, and I really liked that. So, like I said, I was a high score of 4 out of 5. It wasn't a perfect movie, but it was a great movie, and I would watch it again, and it is going into the archives. And I will soon review The Wild Bunch. 94-minute runtime. Great watching for a Sunday afternoon such as today. Get out there, watch Westerns. The Randolph Scott guy, as a side note before I wrap it up, he was in over 100 movies, but 60 of his roles were Westerns. And I had never really experienced him as an actor that I could think of. But now it makes sense because there's that one scene in the movie Blazing Saddles where like this whole chorus line goes, Randolph Scott. And I was like, what does that mean? But it makes sense because apparently this Randolph Scott guy was a big actor, prolific in Westerns. And I feel like this is another one of those movies that was going to be in your grandpa's VHS library, and probably in mine, and maybe in yours. Until next time, we'll see you then.